Oh, okay, so, all right. Hello to everyone. Welcome to another AdmindWebinar. We are about to start, so just wait a moment for all those people that are still joining, as I see. And just like usual, please let us know if you can hear us well, or if you can also see us properly. You can write it in the chat box, so please do it if you have time. Thanks for that. And let's move on. So this is episode number 24. My name is Herzog, and I'm Radek. Oh, okay. And we are hosting today's meeting. We are broadcasting live from Krakow, Poland. And today we are really honored to host two amazing guests from Spin Studio, Brook, creative director, and Jonas Zieher, design director. Hello, guys, welcome, and it's a real pleasure to meet you. And how are you?
Thank you. Thank you very much. So I've prepared a little presentation for you, and we start with a little introduction to the studio. This text is very long, so I'm not going to read it out.
I'm sorry for that, but just a short reminder to all viewers, okay? So before we start, okay?
Okay.
Sorry for that. We just wanted to say that it's our mission to educate and to inspire designers, and we always do our best to invite such talented people like you guys. So we really appreciate that. And I think it's a great occasion and opportunity to learn more from you, how you do it, about your projects and your approach, because your approach is quite unique and unusual. And in our opinion, you changed a little bit the mindset of many designers. So thanks for that and respect. But I believe that you will say much more about it in a minute. Just one more thing: the presentation will last about 30 or 40 minutes. And as usual, if you have any questions to Tony or Jonas, please write it in the chat, and Radek will conduct this in the Q&A session. All right. So now I think we can move on. So
okay, thanks, Christoph. Thank you. Okay. So let's introduce the studio. So the studio was founded in 1992. We are based in London, in Wandsworth, South London. And we've basically been working across a really wide range of clients, smaller ones, bigger ones, and also across pretty much any discipline, analog and digital, and everywhere in between. And we can say that recently we've also started to look into or kind of shifted the practice a little bit to creating art, but we're going to talk about that later on. And so these are some of the identities we designed. As you can see, it's as I said, a wide range from the media. A famous client is probably MUBI, the BBC, a lot of art institutions, these kinds of things. And quite important for us is actually the studio culture. We're currently a team of about 8-9 people. This is us in the garden. And the situation that we work in here is quite special. And I forgot about this one. This is another very important member of the team. His name is Nat. It's the studio cat. And we basically work out of a house, and then there's a garden and a pot in the back of the garden that you can see here. And it's quite an intimate sort of setup. We do grow vegetables in the garden in summer, which is very nice. We don't have anything yet for this year. This is the studio setup. This is where we are right now. We have two design heroes on both sides, Wim Crowell and Otto Eicher. This is what it looks like with people working. Another very important aspect next to the space is actually food. So we have our little food rituals. So on Thursday, we do a thing and we call it Friday because we have a big fried up breakfast in the morning. So a few members of the team have to come in a little bit early and prepare breakfast for everyone else. So we start every Thursday with a big breakfast. And then on Fridays, again, we have set up a rota and somebody has to cook for the entire team, which is a very nice social thing. So these are some of the things that we've had recently. And in this talk, we are going to talk a little bit about the relationship of art and design and art and how they influence each other in our practice. And we kind of like to mix these things up. We don't really draw a strict line between the two areas. And I hope I can show that in the next few slides. So first of all, we are showing a commercial project for MUBI, one of our clients, and we worked with them for quite a while now. They are, in a way, the Netflix for art house cinema and our streaming service. And we worked on the identity for them like a couple of years ago. And the logo is based on a simple idea. It's the idea of the 7 arts. So there's architecture, design, painting, sculpture, music, literature. And then there is cinema as the 7th one, and the one that MUBI obviously sees at the forefront. So it's symbolized by the dot on the very right-hand side. And then we always work from a sort of core idea, which you could say it's like the seed of an identity, and then try to extend it into like a wide organic visual language. So what you can see here is sort of the extended visual language. And then this is what it looks like on a TV screen. Just more visuals, very vibrant colors, playing with the dots. But MUBI can express sort of the visual identity in a slightly more corporate way when it needs to, but also in a more exciting way. This is what it looks like on the App Store. MUBI obviously exists as an app. This is a concept for a membership card. This is MUBI Go, another different app where you basically get access to a cinema ticket every week. And then we worked on a number of sub-brands, or like sort of a wider range of MUBI projects. One of them is the MUBI podcast. So they are now releasing podcasts in English, also Spanish speaking. And we've created like a little sub-identity using the idea of projection, which is very close to the idea of cinema. And then MUBI has this lovely opportunity to create visuals for new releases and the films they release. So these are a number of posters that we've done recently. And what's interesting to say here is that because we have a fairly rigid structure at the bottom, that enables us to create bespoke and exciting typography for all these releases, and we can sort of react to the idea of a film or a specific idea. So this one is a very delicate film by a French director called Céline Sciamma. The film is called Petite Maman, and in this case, we try to create typography that is very light and very elegant and kind of gets this feeling across. It's a very warm story about two sisters. This one, however, is very different. It's a season on the Hong Kong director Wong Kar-wai, and we created bespoke typography that was inspired by Hansi characters. And we try to create typography that sort of sits in between Roman lettering and Chinese lettering. We usually work with different colors, different images, and create like a range of assets for every campaign. These are posters in Mexico City. And this film is called Memoria, and it's quite interesting because it has such a weird atmosphere. It's basically a story about a woman that hears this like strange noise in the jungle, and it has like a spiritual sort of thing going on in it as well. And the typography tries to reflect that. So the letters you can see here, M and A, are actually made with plants that we picked in the garden out here. Then others are made with painting or paint, and then others have this sort of more graphic feel to them. We also get to do the trailers, which again is lovely. And we can look at this one now. Hope you can hear the sound.
Core of the earth. This is probably 6,000 years old. Oh. Yes, drilled into her head to release bad spirits.
Yeah, so hopefully this weird atmosphere, we tried to really capture that in the typography. So these are a few posters. And then sort of in contrast, we have a very different film called Titan, again, French director, but this time the genre is body horror. So it has a very different atmosphere. And I hope that comes across in this trailer. Yeah, so I think it's quite interesting to see how we always create bespoke typography and try to capture the idea of a film and bring it onto the posters. This project was super exciting for us. MUBI has grown like substantially over the past couple of years, and they now do like big outdoor campaigns as well. This one was a poster campaign in Istanbul, and they've asked us, they basically just got the site, and it was a massive underground tunnel, I think 70 meters long. And they asked us to come up with a concept to fill the tunnel. So we had the idea to create basically a big poster exhibition and did all these posters and filled the entire tunnel with the posters. So here are a few shots. And then this project is a little sub-project for MUBI where we created an ident, and I think it's interesting because we've worked with them for quite a while, so they've given us quite a lot of freedom and to create something quite experimental and interesting. And it all started with a very interesting brief where they basically shared a film with us. It's a documentary about a film in the 60s. That uses a lot of sort of op art, visual experiments. It's quite interesting visually. And Effie, the founder of MUBI, just loved this film and basically said, can we do something kind of in that spirit, but in a contemporary way and like in a movie way? And yeah, this is just a snippet from that original film. Yeah, so that was basically our briefing, and because we basically had we have this like relationship with them that's basically based on trust. We started like really experimental. So we got a lot of material like paper. We looked at graphic shapes and tried to create a almost like a little set to create this trailer, this ident. And yeah, we really started playing with it, experimenting with it, trying to find sort of a visual language that has the link to this reference film, but also looks new and speaks like the MUBI language. And then we got a cinema camera because we thought this is obviously for cinema, so it's probably a good idea to use a cinema camera. And then brought the cinema camera together with those like handmade props and digital animation, and all these things together were fused into what in the end became the trailer. So here are a few shots from us in the studio. That's like in the garden out in the pod. We set up this little studio. Very hands-on. And basically the moment where it all clicked was when we brought all these elements together, like digital animation, physical props, and the cinema camera. And this is actually when we saw the trailer for the first time in the cinema. So we've got the numbers. The platform is now active in 200 territories across the globe. Has over 12 million members worldwide, and actually this year saw record subscriber growth. So it is a big success story. And this next project, we're kind of like we're moving slowly into the sort of more free art projects. This one was a collaboration with Junya Watanabe, Japanese designer. And their collection was basically inspired by the books that surround Junya Watanabe. And they've used some of the books that Spin has created with unit editions, like the big Spin 360 book, and used them or took them and made them into clothes. Very interesting way. So here are a couple of shots. We've got this jacket. This is the inside. Some t-shirts. Some more t-shirts using the graphics from Spin Adventures in Typography. Also looks great in red. They've had all these quite interesting ways of like bringing those books onto garments, onto shirts. Just a little detail on the back. It's the cover of one of the books. And we also designed a manual for them that's basically the lookbook for this collection. I think what's interesting to see here is how self-initiated projects like the Spin book then suddenly was taken into like a commercial project, and how this all comes together and sort of like is intertwined. And this is where we go into the art section.
So we've always been interested in self-initiated projects as a way of exploring technology and exploring ideas. So we set ourselves the objective of basically making ideas that we've come up with. So we have to plan that out during the week to make sure we've got time to do it. But the form of these experiments can take very many different shapes. So in this case, it's a typeface. They're not always graphic design related, but in this case it is. It's typeface, a modular typeface that developed out of the notion of when you move something, they go in and out of abstraction. So at some points it's very legible, and other points it's utterly abstract, which we kind of think is an interesting notion. So this shows up very nicely, this animation. Then we also made this into a more abstracted kind of artwork, where sometimes you can read words or letters, but other times it's completely abstract and mixing them up together in a very physical way. And then we started imagining what that might be like in a gallery, how that might be displayed if it was in a gallery. So we made some renders, which, funnily enough, today we actually made an exhibition which the private view is tonight, which actually shows these things in a gallery situation. These are some directional speakers, a concept for directional speakers, which we thought was a really nice idea based on the fundamental forms of Symmetrica. So hoping that one day somebody's going to see this and want to make them. You never know. And these are kind of like a monumental sculpture idea. And really the concept was that every day they would be moved around and made into different shapes. So they could be quite organized and monumental, but they could also be fluid and playful, and also turn into words. So in this case, we. And this is just, we just got delivery of this recently. These are throws, which are basically warm blankets, which have been made in California, which should be for sale in September, I think. Which was a really nice relationship to develop. And this is kind of like where design and art collide, because we've made that project entirely as a self-initiated project, and then we got a call from Junior Watanabe, and they were telling us that they'd made a record with Ryuichi Sakamoto, and we thought that basically Symmetrica worked very nicely with this artwork, and they loved it. So that's coming out soon. I think that's going to be a limited edition record, which you can buy online. And just some details of the Now, this is a metamorphosis. This basically came out of making things that we're surrounded by. So making things from the garden, from the house, just things that were lying around basically, and combining them in a kind of a digital and analog relationship. So this is, you can see the process of making. So it's very much hands-on. And part of working from the house means that we have this opportunity to get off our desks and combine the two worlds. So these are some of the prints that we made. And they basically explore the idea of growth and change. So very, very different aesthetics. Some of the previous things that we've done, very handmade, very raw. Yeah, so that's that. And then High was inspired by the COVID crisis, really, in that we started to think about all the places that we loved going to, and that we couldn't go because of COVID. And so it was saying hi to all the places that we liked to visit. And then that developed into a more kind of rounded concept. So it started off as a very simple concept in terms of saying hi to someone we initially saw as a very open and friendly thing, and then started realizing that it depends on who's saying hi to you. So if a politician is saying hi to you, that's a different thing to a good friend saying hi to you. So it's kind of an unearned familiarity if a politician's saying hi. And then starting to think about, well, what happens if it is basically is a sculpture of a Roman emperor? Is that way that their way of saying hi to the people? And this is a high print being made. This is the reveal. Always a nervous moment. And then just some pictures of making, background photographs. And animation is always a part of everything that we do. It's always an interesting aspect of it, kind of exploring animation possibilities. And this is a sculpture which we made as part of the High project. So we made a series of sculptures made out of recycled plastic that we contacted a client that we'd actually done their identity for, called Smile Plastics, and they helped us to fabricate these High sculptures. So that's one in situ on a shelf, and then some little context shots with framed portraits. This is what they look like in the real world. And the white box is an interesting idea because it's basically, the concept is that it's a publication where the outer case of the publication is always repeated, it's always the same, but every single box is a different thing. So these are some historical references. This is Duchamp made a box which he filled with personal scribblings and photographs and things. And this is Aspen, which was also an aggregation of different materials. And this is our box. So the idea is that whatever the say, for instance, if it's a high series, that every single print from the high series is different, or if it's Symmetrica or Metamorphosis, every box is an iteration of that idea, but no box is the same. But when you put them on your shelf, they all look the same. They're all identical until you open them. And the plus minus, I suppose that ought to be explained as well. The plus minus is an idea based around a decision that you make as a designer or as an artist, which is, should I add more or should I take it away? Should I take away? More paint doesn't necessarily make a better painting. So there's always a balance there between adding more and taking away. This is a little render of the box. So if you want to see more from us, go visit spin.co.uk.
Exactly. For the exhibition, if you happen to be in London or coming to London, we're opening it basically from next week.
Yeah. So thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you.
What do we do for time? Great. 35 minutes.
All right. Thank you very much, guys. So now we'll start the Q&A session. We have a couple of questions from our viewers and some questions from Radek. Yes, all right. So let's start.
I won't be super original in my questions because a lot of them show up in the Q&A tab. Yeah, so let's start with the heaviest ones. So throughout the years, the studio has added and subtracted team members, and at some point I've read that you worked for like these huge clients like Nike.
Yeah.
But then you decided, or am I just like projecting something onto this? And then you decided that you want to kind of make this pivot or change how things are done in the studio. What dictated that decision?
Well, when you're working with a huge client like Nike, as we were at the time, they need servicing. So there's an awful lot of staff goes into servicing, and then you end up being a servicing company. So you need a lot of project managers and various other things to service a client like that. And you also get an awful lot of boring rollout work as well, which so you've got to make a poster for a football campaign, and then you've got to make 1 million posters for a football campaign, and it goes around the world, and it's blah blah blah, you know. So I'm not just talking about Nike. Was really interesting to work for, and we did a lot of interesting work for them. But we very much wanted to be more of a bespoke, creative, experimental space rather than a space where we were just chasing money and chasing kind of being rolling out campaigns and things like that. So we made a decision to be smaller.
Yeah. Well, that decision, how did it reflect in your work? Was it just to keep you sane and not have not demanding that you deal with management stuff and too corporate stuff, or was it like a deeper ethical?
No, there wasn't an element of wanting to push ourselves towards a more creative space, and that meant a different type of studio. I wasn't comfortable personally. I wasn't comfortable with being 35 people and having it just felt like I was becoming more of a manager, and I wanted, I didn't want that. And yeah. I think that, I mean, it cost a lot of money, actually, to be honest, it did. But I think it has to be the right choice in the end. I think we're driving towards something where we're looking for a more bespoke and particular creative response to things. And if you're working for a huge organization, they require certain kinds of outcomes. They push you towards certain kinds of outcomes where they need to scale things up globally and what have you. And I didn't really feel like that was what we wanted to be. We want to be a creative hub, really. No. Yeah.
Well, so the next question is what is the golden ratio, because your presentation, it contained commercial projects and as you called it, self-initiated projects. What is the right combination of those two? And I would like to ask both of you to answer this question.
Okay, you do. I can go first. I think there's no golden ratio. First of all, it's something that definitely keeps moving, and it's not like a fixed thing. However, I must say the only reason these projects happen is because we take them quite seriously and we dedicate time to them. And currently, that's sort of 1 day per week, if I'm being completely honest. But as I said, it goes up and down. Like, because we worked on this exhibition now, we spent a little bit more time with that. But then if like client work gets sort of heavier, then we spend more time with that. But I think the key is really to take it seriously. It's not like a fun thing on the side, but we schedule it in just like we would do with any client project, and we just dedicate time to it. That's the only way to do it.
Yeah, I would say that it really depends. I mean, we've also got a publishing company, Unit Editions, and so that soaks up quite a lot of the time that we would spend on personal projects. So, but you have to invest in them. But we tried to make Thursdays our internal creative day, but it just isn't always possible. Sometimes the pressure of work just stops that happening. It's the intention to do it, and as Jonas says, the fact that we organize it into our work, that we do take it seriously, and we invest our time and effort in it. So, and there's a strange thing that happens with these projects, and it wasn't intentional, but it happens every single project. There's some effects, whether directly or indirectly, a commercial project.
Yeah, it seems that the more free-form experimental projects, they have this great influence over your commercial work. Yeah. It's, that is the general rule that kind of applies to all experimental art. Like, why is there experimental literature? It is there to push the mainstream literature forward. You two seem to have you have two very different personalities. When I was researching your studio, it's like yin and yang, it seems. And I don't know if I'm like projecting too much into it, but it seems Jonas is like, well, you're German, so you're very German, and on the other hand, Tony is very British, and so like you combine this very practical German discipline and this more of a abstract, idealistic sort of David Hume type of thinking in your work. What do you think? Like, what do you see? Do you see yourself as a team, and what do you think that each of you brings to the table here?
I think if you, I don't know what we basically spins a team. If you looked at, if you had a kind of a graphic design kind of lens that you could look through and see the fingerprints of different people on the projects, they'd be covered in fingerprints.
Yeah.
From like probably literally everyone in the studio.
Yeah. So, you know, it's a very flat, very open studio, and what I suppose the structure of spin, or the path that we're on, is something that was set maybe 10 years ago. But so I don't know. I don't quite know how to answer that really.
I can also say that I think in terms of nationalities, like we have like someone from Hong Kong in the team. We have someone from France, Ireland, Germany. We've had like people from literally everywhere around the world. Yeah. So I think in terms of nationalities, I don't think it has a lot of influence. And at the same time, I think Spin as a studio, even like back in the days, was always very much influenced by sort of European culture and like European design, and much more than like British design. 100%. I think so. So I think it might seem like we're quite different, but in the end, I think we actually are probably quite similar.
We're definitely not a British or an English studio in our mentality. Our mentality is definitely looking out, not looking in.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, but still you're influenced by what you have seen during like your formative years, for example, like, I don't know, like book covers or record covers or whatever. It's just cool. Amazing to see how everything works out in the end when you kind of mix it all in. Yeah. So I have to ask this question. This is something that has popped up in the Q&A, and I know that this is very lofty and huge, a huge subject, but what is your opinion? What do you think about design versus art? Is there, because your studio kind of walks this tightrope between one and the other, so you must know what the relationship between one and the other is.
Well, they're both asking questions, I guess. So it depends which questions you're asking. If we're making a piece of design, we know that there's an intention behind that design. We know that there's three audiences, right? There's the audience that it's going to receive it, there's the client, and there's us. So ideally, we've got to entertain and interest all three parties.
Yeah.
And with art, we've got to interest two parties. So there's one less party, but that doesn't stop. I mean, like, we make an assumption, right, which might sound quite arrogant, but it's just practical, really. When a client comes through the door, we assume that they like what we do. We assume that they like the way we think and the way that we approach things, and so we'll listen to what we listen to what they say. That's a crucial part. We see them as a collaborator in the process. We don't just go away, go, oh yeah, we'll do whatever we do. We're very, very professional in in talking to clients and taking on board what they're saying on their intention, because that gives us more creative license if we do that, because we've listened to them. But there's definitely an understanding that we have that they're asking us to do it. They're not asking us to do what they've thought of. They're asking us to do what we've thought of based on discussions with them. So there isn't that massive a difference between the two things, really.
Well, in a couple of interviews, you pointed out that your sessions with your clients are a bit like therapy.
Yeah, totally.
It's like picking their brains. Or
yeah.
Could you expand this thought?
Well, what it does is it gives you, if you, it's a bit weird to say this, right? But if you talk to a client, the client will give you permission. They'll open up the door for things that you can explore in the conversations that you have with them, and then you can hold that back up to them and say, "You said you were this, this, that isn't this. This is this." You know.
Yeah. Wow.
We want to be brave. We want to be new. We want to be fresh. This is brave and new and fresh.
Yeah.
That you know.
There's a lesson in this, because sometimes as designers we tend to cowardly say what the client presumably wants us to say, not something that he needs to hear. And so I guess that there's a lesson for a company like Apple's here.
We're not shy about telling people what we think about what they've done.
That's I think that this is like being honest and frank is one of the best qualities when it comes to a designer, especially now when you work with clients that kind of ethically compromise or whatever. It's just
I think there's a thing where designers can get lazy, and they can have an aesthetic which they rely on, and they don't have to argue for it. They don't have to really argue their point, and they can just roll over and go, "Oh, all right then," and make it as the client's asked for. Or they can put a lot of work into persuading the client that because they're making a good point. It's too easy to give up. Sometimes it's too easy to just give up and go, "Oh, right, okay," and just do whatever the client's told you to do. But if you're persistent, you don't need to be rude about it. You be very calm and very nice about it. But if you don't just roll over and go, "Oh, okay," then I think it counts for something. And they start to believe, they'll start to have faith in you as well, that you a confidence in you.
Yeah. Do we still have time for one more question, or is it?
We have like maybe 3 or 5 minutes, but so you can read one of those.
Yeah, there's one very interesting question that do you have any strategy for the creative process, or maybe you have built up strong creative workflows as a studio?
Yeah, we do.
Need structured process.
We do actually, but it's very simple. There's no like sort of magic formula or anything, but one thing that has proven incredibly effective and is actually printing stuff out and looking at it in a different space. And this sounds like such a simple thing, but it's not. Like in a world where, like I would say, probably the majority of the work we do is digital and purely digital, never goes to print, basically is created on a computer and stays on a computer. And because everything is so like in flux and like in move, it's incredibly helpful to, even if it's a website and it sounds ridiculous, but print it out, put it on a wall. We actually so we don't do this in the space here, we do it like in the pod. So we also have like, a different space, go to another space. We gather around a wall with like printouts and then discuss it in the group. And that really, really helps to kind of move forward and, get like some clear thinking into what we're doing. And we do that like in an iterative process. So we usually don't only do it once, but we do it like a couple of times and kind of get closer and closer to what we want to do. And I think that is very much a key part of the creative process.
Yeah. Well, how do you make designers to just get up from their seats and just do this type of a manual labor, because you're known for this, for getting their hands dirty, and there's this danger in the false safety of a computer screen, and you just become an Adobe operator.
Yes.
At some point. How do you make people interested in your co-workers, interested in getting their hands dirty?
Well, as Jonas said, we have a process, and they have to follow it, because that's what we do.
We also, I mean, just the space is quite made for it, because we do have, you know, we have a desk, we have materials, we have paper, we have a little photo studio set up. We've got all these things ready, and we encourage it. You know, we say, you know, here's some paint, go ahead and do something.
You also have a ping pong table behind you. Is that a ping pong table?
This one is ping pong. Yeah. This one is pool.
Okay, yeah, and shout out to the designer working behind you.
And yeah, Ben. So
yeah, that's the. that's the person we all rely on.
You can actually see that on the wall there. There's visuals on the wall.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So, you know, it's. But I think that what happens is, on screen you can always move something 1 millimeter, 2 millimeters, 5 millimeters, 10 millimeters, smaller, bigger, left, right, up, down. When you stop for a moment. When you print it out and just stop for a moment, you have time to look at it and to live with it a little bit and just walk past it a few times. And, you know, it's much easier to be objective in that situation yourself, and more inclusive of your fellow designers, to encourage them to get involved as well. Now, that's a bit scary for some people, but you don't have to do everything that everybody says, but somebody might come up with. Everybody's going to look at your work and have good intentions about helping, right? So that's the first thing to understand. They're not there to slag it off. They're you know, they're not there to just criticize it stupidly. They'll want to help. Now, you don't have to accept all that help, but it's really nice to be inclusive and to just give yourself a little bit of distance. Just stop for a moment and say, actually, that's not quite right, or that's looking great, whatever it might be.
Yeah. So assuming good intentions is the first step.
Yeah.
Yeah. Right. This final question will make my bosses kill me, probably. What do one has to do to work with you? Like, what is the most sought after quality when you look at somebody's portfolio?
I think there's not one specific thing. I think we like if people are like very intentional when they apply. They have to know us and sort of, you know what we're about. I think generally it's crazy, but these days people are very sort of universally skilled. So a lot of our designers, they can do like everything from designing a typeface to 3D animation to, you know, doing stuff in Figma and all. So we're actually very much a sort of multidisciplinary team where literally every designer can almost do everything. So like good technical skills, and then also I think just like a curious mind and you know, like good intentions, curious mind, good technical skills.
Yeah, beautiful work.
Beautiful work, of course.
Any more questions?
No, because we have. I think
yeah, we're sorry that we've kind of bent your clock, and so happy 30th anniversary, because in 2 months I think.
Yes. Thank you.
Okay.
Great.
Yeah, we're the first ones to kind of. And many more years of great work ahead
Thank
of
you.
We're so happy to have talked to you, and thanks for that.
It's been a great experience. Thank you.
Thank you so
Really
much.
enjoyed it.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.